Hey, wanna see my dad's gear?
Hey everybody, this is Shoepak 100. This is the part 3 of a 3-part series. We're going to talk about the gear that I bring on a typical weekend trip. It could be a 3-day, 2-night, 4-day, 3-night. Even if it's a longer trip, like a week, week and a half, this is pretty much the same stuff that I'm going to be bringing. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the first things that I always bring is a knife. This just happens to be a Swiss Army knife. It's a camper model. I don't believe that you really need to bring a 7-inch blade survival knife or anything like that. I've never ever had any reason to use something like that. If you're going to bring something like that, you might as well bring a chainsaw with you. So anyway, this has done absolutely everything that I need it to do in terms of being in the woods and surviving. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on. The next thing is just a basic compass. I have always used this. It's gotten me out of plenty of jams and so forth. Walking around in the woods, and I don't know, does everything that I need it to do. This thing here, the thermometer, is more of a curiosity thing. It's kind of a luxury item. What I end up doing is, I don't know, it's just kind of fun to see how warm it is in my sleeping bag and how cold it is outside on a cold winter's day or night. How I use it is I plug this, I thread this through the bottom of my sleeping bag where the zipper, the end of the zipper is, plug it in, and I'm able to have it in my sleeping bag, and I don't know, it's just kind of fun. The next thing that I have here is a Princeton Tech flashlight. It has a filament bulb. The filament bulbs, sometimes they burn out, but I don't remember the last time I actually replaced a light bulb on my particular one. I'd love to have an LED because they don't have filament light bulbs, but I just can't justify spending the money on something that I guess I already have and it works perfectly. So the next thing here is a basic first aid kit. It has, you know, I've added stuff to it. It has everything in there that I need just in case I run into something or I have a big cut or whatever the case is. The other thing here that I have also got is 4 pieces of paracord. I've looped them into about 12-inch pieces. This serves 2 purposes. One, the first purpose is I lace these through the corners of my tarp or whatever grommets, whatever loops that I want. And if I can't put a stake in the ground, I put a stick through here, bury it with snow, and it anchors it really well. The other purpose for it is I use these to lash down, or I should say tie down, my big duffel bag to my pulk. And I don't know, it serves 2 purposes. I kind of camp that way, making sure that things have multiple purposes rather than bringing the whole kitchen and kitchen sink with me and my whole garage with me. So anyway, next thing is a water bottle. It's an Nalgene. I cook with a 1.5 liter pot. It's from an MSR cooking kit. What it has in it is basically it's a 1 cup measuring cup. Have a spoon, and then I have a pot gripper. Whoa, pot gripper, just in case you know, I need to grab it from the fire or from the stove. That way I'm not scalding my hands or anything. Yeah, it's not the lightest, but it definitely does what I need it to do. Melt the water, cook the food, and I don't know. It's pretty basic, and then it all fits in really nicely in a cloth mesh ditty bag. So I don't know. I cook with an MSR Whisper Light Shaker Jet stove. The only reason why I bought this stove is because it uses white gas, which I found out when I was doing my research on fuel types. White gas is has a superior vaporizing in cold weather temperatures, other than alcohol, butane, your canister kind of fuels and stuff like that. It's easy to store and easy to use. It has a pump system. Hook it up to the stove, turn it on, prime it, you're good to go. So, and then I use this is the top of a I don't know, popcorn can or popcorn barrel. Instead of putting the stove on the snow and melting the snow and having everything tip over, I use the top of this and I put the stove on here, and it keeps everything level. and I don't know, it's worked really well. It's really super lightweight, and it packs, you know, flat, and I don't know, it's nice to have, especially in the winter time when you don't have level places to cook other than the snow. So anyway, the next thing here is it's just a small bag full of paracord that I use to hook up my tarp and you know, clothesline, whatever the case is. The other thing here is I have a food bag, store all my food in. It's easy to pack, and yeah. The next thing here is a Sven saw. It's not the lightest, but it has a slim profile. It's really nice, and yeah, it packs up well. Moving on here is I have my tarp that I used on my January trip. That works out really well. I made it myself. It's a 10 by 10 tarp. It's super duper 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 light. It's about the size of my hand, and yeah, I'm really pleased with it, and I'm really excited to use it in the spring and the summer when it's a little bit more wetter, and I'm just kind of testing it out in the elements and seeing how well it keeps me dry, and yeah, just kind of excited about it. The other thing that I use here is I cut off the end of an old bedroll. This is a closed cell foam, and I use this whenever I stop for lunch and whenever I'm sitting around the fire. Yeah, it just keeps my butt warm. It's a good insulator from the snow. And then how I sleep on the ground is I use a piece of plastic that I bought from a local hardware store, and I just lay that down on the snow. And then I have a closed cell. It's a full body mat, and then I put this on top of the plastic, and then I have a 3/4 length, body length I should say, Thermarest. It's a self-inflating. It's 1.5 inches thick. This is I don't know, to me it's very comfortable. I've always gotten a great night's sleep on it, and it works really well. One of the things that I have bought is this is a Duluth pack liner. It's basically just a thick plastic bag, and I shove everything in this, and it goes into my duffel bag, and it keeps everything nice and dry, and pretty much waterproof. So I'm really excited about that. It's worked out really well. How I sleep is, especially in the wintertime when it's really cold, is I have two 25-degree bags. I shove one inside the other, and it keeps me plenty warm when it's minus double-digit degree weather. So I have no complaints there. One of the last things here is the snowshoes. They're in a Ojibwe style. They're from William and Wilcox. I bought them, oh, I don't know, probably about 17, maybe 18 years ago. Laced them up myself. They have just the nylon shoelace webbing. They have ash frames, and then it's some type of I don't know, rubber what do we call it? They have some kind of a rubber binding. So anyway, that's pretty much it. We'll go ahead and talk about my pulk in just a second. Okay, everybody, so here's my pulk. Basically, it's a kid's plastic sled that I drilled a couple holes in to help me make a pulk as cheaply and as strong as possible. What I did here is I got a big duffel bag, and then I drilled a couple holes in the sled, as you can see here, and that's where I end up tying down the handles on the duffel bag. I got a front and a rear, and that's on both sides here. And then what I end up doing is slipping my snowshoes through the handles, and then my snow shovel, which I totally forgot to talk about as part of my gear. I wouldn't say it's a necessity for winter hiking where I'm going. I'm not in the mountains or anything like that, but it's I don't know, it's kind of a fun thing to have. It helps clear the campsite a little bit, and yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of a toy, I guess. Then what I've done here is I have drilled a couple holes in the very front of the sled, and I put some nylon webbing through them. And then for my poles here is I went over to Menards, I don't know, hardware store, and then I got two 7-foot garden stakes, really, and they are plastic on the outside, and then with a steel hollow core. I bet each pole weighs maybe 1.5 pounds. They're very lightweight. They're really strong, and they've worked really well for me on my January trip. What I've done here, I'm going to go into close-up mode, is I bought a couple carabiners here, and then some screw clamps, and I screwed the carabiners onto the end of the pole, so then I can really easily put them through the webbing, and away we go. So let's go ahead and check out. I'll show you my my harness system, and again, it's really easy. Okay, so here's my harness system. What I did is I took the hip belt off of my backpack, and I hooked up the other end of the poles to the hip belt straps, and then it works out really easy. What I did here is on the other side of the pole, I did the exact same thing. I bought a carabiner, and then used the same type of clamp. It's a screw clamp to attach that onto the pole. I put some duct tape around here so that it's not going to scratch and make holes into the my hip belt. It protects the belt a little bit. So anyway, that's pretty much what I did. The belt ends up going through the carabiner, and hook that onto me, and away I go. So that's pretty much it. It was easy to do. I bet the poles, carabiners, the screw clamps, I bet they all cost maybe around 11 to 12 bucks, and then whatever the cost of the sled was. So it was pretty easy to do and really cheap.